If you had to eat a frog every day, do it in the morning because you want to do the ugliest, worst thing earlier in the morning and get it over and done with. As a business owner, as an EP business owner, developing a business, you're going to have to eat a lot of frogs. Welcome to Phys Biz with me, Aaron King, a podcast for exercise physiologists and health professionals wanting to grow and scale in business. Welcome to episode 18 of Phys Biz. You're with me, Aaron King, owner of Fit Clinic Online and Fit Clinic Strength Co. You're going to have to eat that frog. That's a book by Brian Tracy, I believe, and the premise of the book is if you had to eat a frog every day, do it in the morning because you want to do the ugliest, worst thing earlier in the morning and get it over and done with. As a business owner, as an EP business owner, developing a business, you're going to have to eat a lot of frogs. Doing the difficult things is important because you're going to rely on doing those things to be known and to build up your client base. Because it's unfortunately not everybody wants to do those. To be honest, I don't think anybody wants to do those difficult things, have those tough conversations, or put themselves into really uncomfortable positions that they just really feel out of place or uncomfortable. But it's the ones that do those somewhat uncomfortable things or have those difficult conversations or ask for the referrals or ask to be part of somebody's network that will actually get the job done and will actually grow. Because not everybody wants to do those things and not everybody will be willing to do those things, the ones that do are going to put themselves in a much better position to grow their business. Things like sales, following up leads, getting leads in the first place happens by putting yourself out there. Like even on social media, that's probably the easy part of it because you don't actually need to go meet with someone face to face. You can put it out into the internet, into the ether, I was going to say, and just let it do its job. But the dollars are in the follow up. So you do actually need to follow up. Don't just put things out there willy nilly without any strategy in the first place. Like we've had some recent content on our Instagram in particular for the Fit Clinic Instagram, and a few posts have really blown up, 10 million views, few 100,000 shares, really just by putting out some content that I thought was a bit funny. And to be honest, the entertaining content is what has really blown up and was relatable to people. They saw themselves in some of our recent content and then enjoyed sharing it. And it's really taken on a life of its own. And just prior to this chat that I'm putting out there now, I was just featured on a podcast with Essa, or I will be probably by the time this is out, or maybe it will be out in a week just after this episode. And that connection and that lead and being featured on the Essa podcast happened because of that social content, by putting myself out there, by doing something difficult, knowing that, look, if some of these social things take off, you're going to get some really positive and supportive comments and you're going to get some trolls, but you just deal with it and just ignore them. And to be honest, on our biggest social content, I didn't really have to do anything because other people made the replies on my behalf and on behalf of Fit Clinic. So other people did the job for us. And if I'm honest, doing social media was probably the easy part of this. If I'm honest, I would find it more difficult to knock on the door of a doctor, of a surgeon, going to a business networking meeting and putting yourself out there by having a chat to those people. Even with things like Facebook ads, you might be getting leads and having to pick up the phone and call the leads when you really don't want to, and just hoping that they'll do it automatically is not going to happen. So you are going to have to follow them up straight away. And that becomes the difficult part, to follow them up quickly, to have those conversations and ask for the sale, because it is difficult to ask for the sale and ask for the referral. But if you put yourself out there, if you follow up the leads, do the difficult things, it is going to ultimately work out in your favor. Because if you are not uncomfortable at some point in your career in business, you're probably not taking a big enough risk, and you're probably not going to grow to the level that you want to. So when I'm creating content, there probably needs to be some level of call to action in it. You don't need a big following, but at the end of the day, having a following provides some level of legitimacy and trust, because if you're looking at a following with 100 followers or somebody with 10,000, whether you like it or not, the general public is probably going to see the person with 10,000 as more legitimate. And I think that idea is full of shit, to be honest, because it doesn't mean that you're good or not good. It just might mean that you don't provide appropriate social media content. Your network is elsewhere, and that's totally fine. Not everybody that runs a really successful business has a social media presence on all the platforms. You don't need one. But if somebody is going to inquire about a product and they look very similar from person A to person B, the person with the bigger following is more likely to win out. But if you don't get many of your leads from socials and you don't plan to, then it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because I do know that it doesn't provide any level of you being any good or better and not. It's just more people have followed you, or you've been around longer, or you've added some content on your platform that people have connected with and decided to follow you. And I can say that from a position of that's what happened to us. We went from 1,200 followers to at the moment, probably almost 14,000 in less than 2 weeks, because we've put out a couple of posts that really people connected with and allowed us to grow our following. The majority of them are still in Sydney. The majority of them are still in Australia. So they are our potential network. Like, we do have online programs and other things that people that are not in the country could still, but you are more likely to connect with people you are geographically located near. So making sure that where you need to, putting yourself in some uncomfortable positions. It's not always going to be perfect, and you don't need to just be uncomfortable for the sake of being uncomfortable. But if you're like, oh, I don't really want to go chat to that person, you don't know where it will lead. So do it anyway, because the person that does it is more likely to get more lucky. People get lucky if they do the things that provide them the opportunities to get lucky. And I say that somewhat sarcastically, getting lucky, because the people that get most lucky seem to do the most work. And there's something in that. Luck is just a level of opportunity after the putting in the work. It seems lucky. Like I said, after our most recent social posts, I got contacted by ESSA, Exercise and Sports Science Australia, to do a podcast. If I didn't put out that social content, if I didn't have that chat, if I didn't do the work, do the things, then that opportunity wouldn't have risen. Because at the end of the day, doing some things that are somewhat uncomfortable is going to put you in a better position to network, to connect with people, to gain more clients at the end of the day, because the ones that nobody wants to do those uncomfortable things. But if you're willing to, you might be the first one to knock on that doctor's door, connect with them. Even a warm lead is much better. So that if you have a client or a patient, whatever you prefer to call your clients, if you have a client or patient that is already connected to somebody and to a doctor, well, they can mention it, because a warm lead is always going to be better than a totally cold lead. Like, how many emails do you get a day? I know I get lots, and I ignore pretty much all of them because they look very scammy when they're cold. So I would rarely trust any cold email in the first place. I'm highly suspicious of any call that I don't know the number, and I expect them to leave a message if they want me to call them back, if it's an unknown number. And I actually say that in my voicemail, to leave a message if you'd like me to call you back, because I get so much spam and scam calls per day. But I digress. So you're going to have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, because not everybody does, but the people that are willing to do it despite being uncomfortable are the ones that are going to be more successful. Because at the end of the day, cash is king. When you're starting out, you need to think about putting profit first, because if you make more profit to begin, you can then get more people in the door. You don't need to do the things that make money for the sake of making money, but cash is not a dirty word, especially in the area of allied health. A lot of us get into allied health to help people, and that's excellent. But more money in the door means that we can help more people. Because at the end of the day, as long as you're providing value to the client and to the people that you're seeing, they're happy, you're happy, and everybody's happy. So I find that many EPs focus on the background stuff, like fiddling with a perfect website or trying to get the CRM right or trying to get your bio correct or getting your logo correct, things like that. That doesn't need to happen straight away. You can perfect it as you go along because people still want to deal with people. We can accept that not everything is perfect. We still don't have everything perfect 10 years down the line. We are still tweaking, tinkering, but you have to do the actions. Like I had a different brand before I had Fit Clinic, but only when I started using the original brand and the original business name did I realize that it wasn't working. It was a pretty shitty business name to say over the phone. People didn't really understand what I did by the name because it didn't actually reflect exercise physiology. It didn't reflect clinical fitness, didn't reflect any of these things. So then that's why I came up with Fit Clinic, making sure the domain names and the social names were available at the time. But I developed that along the way, realizing that it didn't work after a little while. But I didn't know that it didn't work until I started implementing it. So using the simple solutions first, like if you don't have a perfect website, doesn't matter. Just get something up because it provides a level of legitimacy. I would prefer getting a website of some kind to at least provide a level of legitimacy, but getting your Google My Business or Google Maps page, I think most of it goes through Google Maps nowadays, rather than having a separate Google My Business page. But being found on Google is important. You can work on the background stuff as you go along because you're not going to be found on the first page of Google when you're just starting out, unless you're willing to spend a shitload of money on SEO. But it's unlikely you're going to be able to do that. So the best thing to do is network face to face and find a small cohort of people that you can help and you're best suited to and they're best suited to you. So physical networking is always going to be the most important, but the dollars in being able to grow your business is in the follow-up. Doesn't matter how many leads you get in. If you're not willing to get on the phone, text is a lot easier. And we text and we call and we try to see people face to face. Not everyone wants to, and some people do work over text and they are much better. I'd be happy to work over text and connect with someone over text because I don't want to have a phone call when I'm a customer. But me as a customer, if I'm engaging in something, I already know that I want to buy or I want to engage. I'm a different type of person where if I'm inquiring about something, I'm already pretty much over the line because I don't see the point in inquiring about something if I'm not actually legitimately very interested in it. I've already done my research. So I'm happy if I just ask a question and they respond over text. And if I'm happy with the answer, then I move forward with the connection. But I'm not every client. Some people prefer a call. Some people, it's easy for people to withdraw or ghost you over text. But if you get on the phone once they're interested, then you're more likely to have a chat and they can build trust with you. They can build trust by watching your videos, even if you're not present with them. Like they can see you on socials, they can see your face, they can see your genuineness, they can see the type of person that you are. And even on the phone, you can have a online chat to ensure that, you can build that trust so they know, like, and trust you because people are more likely to do work with you if you are the face of the business or if you are a face in general. Because you are the face of the business if you're starting a business, whether you like it or not, because people want a face, not a corporate logo. Like even on our social platforms, we do have our corporate logo, but we have overlaid the EPs on the profile image so that people know that when they're engaging with the Fit Clinic Instagram profile, who is in the content. It is who the staff are. What are we doing? And we're speaking on camera. And I'll tell you, some days it's pretty uncomfortable to do that. I'm getting a lot better by just doing the reps. Just like when you exercise, you do the reps, you get better. I'm better and more comfortable and accepting to just speak on camera, speak on audio, doing these podcasts, all of these things, only because I'm doing it more. My first experience on a podcast, and I went on to someone else's podcast before I started my own. I listened back to it, or I listened back to it once and once only because I cringed at my own voice and I cringed at some of the things that I said and wished that I did a lot better. But now it's out into the ether. Oh, well, and people don't seem upset by it. It's only me because I have expectations of myself and what I wanted to do in hindsight, but other people still got value out of the content and were happy with the things that I said. So it is not content for me, it is content for somebody else. So it's okay. You're always going to be your biggest critic, and you're going to feel uncomfortable walking into a doctor's surgery, hoping to speak to someone. So warm leads are always best. I'd never recommend walking and say, I'd like to speak to a doctor. That's cold lead. That's a bit shit. You should aim to try to get a connection there. It's always going to be better. And you don't want to disregard the gatekeeper, the practice manager, the receptionist that has been there for decades is going to be a much better connection for you because they're the gatekeeper of whether you can get in to speak to the people that you want. So you don't bypass them and make them not feel like part of your connection, part of the team. You want to make sure that you include them, that it's important to make sure that you don't disregard anyone based on their status. Because if you try to say, look, I'd like to speak to one of the doctors, you're going to get shown out the door pretty quickly. But where do your clients already go? It is much easier and more comfortable if you already have a connection. Do you have any clients? Or if you don't, where are the clients that you would like? Where do they go? Who sees them? Who else sees them? Who can you connect with? Business owners are happy to connect with other business owners if they can create a symbiotic relationship. So what other professionals do you have a second degree connection with, or you don't yet have a first degree connection with, but you can ask your current connections about further connections of types of people that you want to connect with and how you can help them. Because at the end of the day, some of your secondhand connections or second degree connections might already have links with other professionals, and that's fine. You won't have them all. You only need a few good, simple connections. Maybe they have a link to another provider. That's fine. At the end of the day, there's enough to go around. So it's really not going to be a problem at the end of the day, because based on the health stats, more than every second person, pretty almost 2 out of 3 people, can be helped in some way based on the health stats of the community. So there's enough people to go around. Don't worry that you're not connecting with everybody. You only need a few select clients. Find out who you want to work with, where they are, and how you can help. Because at the end of the day, people want to be helped. Make sure you make that content for that target market, not necessarily content you like, but content that they will like and content they see themselves in, and connect with that audience. Sometimes I need to take my own advice, if I'm honest. And at the end of the day, don't be afraid to ask for the referral, because at the end of the day, you need to have a call to action if you want to grow, because you're going to need to do the difficult things and have those difficult conversations and things that make you feel uncomfortable, because not everybody is going to do those uncomfortable things, but the ones that are willing to put themselves out there, put themselves in uncomfortable positions, are the ones that are going to have the most success at the end of the day. And if not everything works out, then just make sure that you keep working, keep trying, and learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. Back yourself. So if you found some benefit to the content, feel free to reach out, follow us on socials, inquire about how we can help you. We've got a few different things going on at the moment, mentorship program for exercise physiology businesses, as well as franchise, as well as just connect with us. We're happy to help. So hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. And if you've liked it, like, share, and subscribe. You've just listened to another episode of Phys Biz. If you've got some value out of the content, make sure that you like, share, follow, or subscribe. Until next time.